हरे कृष्ण। आनंद जी प्रभु कीर्तन कीजिए। आप
कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिने
नमः कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने।
नमस्ते सरस्वती गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी
नमस्ते भवानी प्रसादिने निर्विशेषा
कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः। ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रसारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा। Okay, somebody wants to revise some points from yesterday? So in what context we discussed that? Context.
Whether Krishna is grateful or not. Like
That's correct. So, but in what was the context?
Because the gopis were telling that you were not grateful for because we were so much committed to you, but you were still not grateful.
Correct.
And they were saying to the bee that how you are serving such a master who was not grateful.
Right.
Mother Lakshmi was also serving. Yeah, in that context.
Yes.
So we were discussing that why we should be grateful. And in that context, you were explaining that like this is by that actually leads to humility also. Being grateful leads to humility also.
Yes.
And we have to first feel that I don't deserve first. That's another main point which I.
Good. Thank you. Somebody else?
That the gopis are beyond jnana, and they are on a different platform of pure love. So they don't need to understand the very logic that or the jnana that other people need to understand to come up to that level.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Most eye-opening thing for me was that Krishna is writing in 9.4 to 10, what Krishna is writing at Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. That is called as most confidential knowledge. I could understand that it is really most confidential, and he is writing the same thing to even the gopis with the great emotions to pacify them. And gopis does get pacified, and that Krishna is there with us. That kind of feeling they get. So that was very. Still, I'm trying to understand why he's writing philosophy to them, but We cannot understand. You said very nicely that it's Achintya. Thank you.
Thank you.
In
Now, one or two
Brahmar
more.
Gita, in Brahmar
Huh?
Gita, in Brahmar Gita, yesterday we were discussing that the gopis they are giving different examples of how a person lives after that work is done. Like for example, priest he lives when the remuneration is done. Business person when the business is done he leaves, and the guest also leaves when the food is offered. Like the different examples you are telling. And the gopis they want to forget Krishna, but they are unable to forget because they remember after seeing every play, everything there. They don't want to talk also, but still they can't. Uh,
Still they can't stop talking.
yeah, still they can't talk without talking.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, one more point online.
Hmm. Who is this?
Vanamali Govindas, Prabhu.
Okay.
Prabhu, gopis were asking Uddhava that does Krishna remember me or remember us, ask about us when he's talking to the Mathura ladies. And in that purport, they were explaining that they are so selfless in their love that they knew that Krishna likes them the most, but now they don't mind giving that same position to the Mathura ladies. And they are taking humble position that does he remember us also or not little bit during their conversation with Mathura in a very insignificant way also.
Good. Yes. Shudesh?
And if we are gratitude, we will read Prabhupada books very, very nicely. And we are, because of gratitude, we will be very happy hearts,
Satisfied.
satisfied, and we will not think what we didn't get, but we will be grateful for what we got.
Right. Good. Thank you.
Online.
Wait. Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, I like this point very much when you initially mentioned that our main nourishment has to come from Srila Prabhupada's books. The standard menu always remains the same, and because our connection to, because we are members of ISKCON, then our connection to Srila Prabhupada's books has to be there because we are members of ISKCON. And same Srila Prabhupada's books, every time we read, we have newer and new realizations will come. And Srila Prabhupada says that actually from the 18th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it will take a month, that is 18 verses, 18 months, that is equal to 15 years. So we have to actually check ourselves that have I completely understood, Srila Prabhupada's books, and now I can keep it aside, because how I have read Srila Prabhupada's book. So, as Prabhuji mentioned, that gratitude to Srila Prabhupada's books is lost, and the connection to the mission is, cut off. And when we reciprocate with Srila Prabhupada's books, then we get newer and newer realizations. So you said that it's not about information; it is about to increase our surrender to Srila Prabhupada's books, Prabhuji. So this was really very heart touching for me, actually.
Good. Thank you. Okay.
You mentioned about this, how satisfaction has to be searched beyond matter, and that discussion came how motivated devotional service is never satisfying.
Correct. Okay, good. Thank you for all your wonderful points. And so now I thought of going back a little to get a little more into depth of Krishna's message. Krishna's words are very inconceivable, and so therefore I thought we could get a little more into depth from the Acharya's commentaries, because Vishnacharya Thakur interestingly gives not only the direct meaning but also a hidden meaning which was hidden between the lines. As prema is always hidden, in the Chatushloki Bhagavat also, which is the verse talking about the prayojan? The third verse. So if you read the verse per se, is there any mention of prema? Only Panchmahabhuti you understand. So just like here, it is very similar to what Krishna is saying here. That verse also is very similar to what Krishna is saying here. There also he says, I am outside and I have entered inside all the elements. Here also he is saying the same thing. Here also he is saying, I am pervading everything, I am outside, I am inside, same thing. So only from the Acharyas, just like in the Chatushloki verse also, only from the Acharyas we can understand that the verse is talking about prema. And of course, Srila Prabhupada gives an amazing commentary to that verse, where he's talking about the pure devotee having the television of the spiritual world within the heart. You know that? So, only with the help of the Acharyas we can understand. So here also same thing. So for every verse, he is giving a direct meaning and a hidden meaning. A hidden meaning which was meant only for the gopis to know. So I thought that was interesting, and we can go through these commentaries to get a better understanding. Good for the satisfaction and pleasure of Samarpan Gopro. Ultimately, everyone will be satisfied. Okay, so we will once again go from text 29. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Text 29. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhavatinam Viyogo me nahi sarvatmana kvachit yatha bhutani bhuteshu kham vayodnirjalam mahi tataham cha mana prana bhutendriya gunashrayah. The Supreme Lord said, you are never actually separated from me, for I am the soul of all creation. Just as the elements of nature, ether, air, fire, water and earth, are present in every created thing, so I am present within everyone's mind, life air and senses, and also in the physical elements and the modes of material nature. So actually you can see it's very similar to the Chatushloki verse actually. Right. Okay. Fine. So let's read this. Okay, somebody can read this.
The first message gives instructions on the knowledge, whose purpose is to reveal the unassailable strength of prema to the most intelligent, and to cover the glories of prema. See,
so you see that always Krishna wants to hide prema. So prema is the most confidential thing, and so therefore it is not for this that volume you reduce. So prema is always kept very hidden, never easily exposed, and that's the same thing what Krishna wants to do here also.
see, through Uddhav I am teaching the gopis the nectar of knowledge, and that could not extinguish the fire of their love. Their prema has proven the strongest, because it has rendered useless the Nyaya Yoga taught by me, the Lord of mind and yoga. It is
Did we lose them?
Preparation. Anticipating that, Krishna says, "O unintelligent girls, I taught you through Uddhava all about prema. How did you conclude that I was teaching about Jnana?" He then proceeds to give another explanation of the present verse which indicates prema, not Jnana. Your separation from me is not in all my forms, but one only, the body, no sarvatmana. Since Atma refers to body, soul, mind and intelligence. Certainly, prema is the very nature of my Atma, and thus my soul, senses, intelligence, all I reside in you. I took one body only, Atma, to Mathura. As well, your senses, intelligence and mind Atma reside with me in Mathura. Only your bodies are situated in Vraja. But all scriptures have said also that I am dependent on Prem. I am not independent in my Prem. Thus, the separation between you and me, who have a bond of Prema, existing only in the separation of our bodies, gives rise to the sentiments of suffering and separation. Prema, now, using that vehicle of separation, desires to increase to the extreme. Thus, even though I have a great longing, how can I immediately bring my body to Vraja? But when that prema, once reaching its desired level and exhibiting full separation, ascends to the state of meeting, I can then bring that body to Vraja, being dependent on that prema. In this way, the separation of bodies will disappear. The external meaning of the second part of the verse is as follows: But as a source of all matter, I exist in all things. As all the elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether, exist in all moving and non-moving creatures, I am the shelter of all, the final cause of all causes, guna and effects, mana. Wherever they exist, I exist. For the gopis, the meaning of this part of verse is as follows: Having taken shelter of the minds, life's airs, intelligences, senses, qualities and words of you who meditate constantly on me with love, I remain there always, appearing in my wonderful form.
Okay. So you see that he's giving an inner meaning to the verse. So, though there is a direct meaning, which is where Krishna is basically speaking philosophy, how he is pervading everywhere, he is present in all the elements. So that is what he is speaking. But he is explaining an inner meaning whereby he is, so two parts of the verse he is explaining. So in the first part of the verse, so here, So, so in the first part of the verse, he says, Nahi sarvatmana kvachit. So that is what he's explaining. So he's referring to na sarvatmana. So he's saying that, so that refers to body, soul, mind and intelligence. So my love for you is all pervading. That is what I'm trying to say. So he's trying to say, my love for you is present in my body, mind, senses, intelligence. It is all pervading. And so therefore, even though my body is in Mathura and your bodies are in Vrindavan, but actually it is only the bodies. But your remembrance is there with me in my mind, body, intelligence. So that is the meaning of the first part of the verse, as he says, only your bodies are situated in Vraja. And the second part he is saying that having taken shelter of the mind's, life airs, intelligence, senses, qualities and words of you always. So similar point, that he's always meditating on the gopis' love, and in that form he is remaining there. So this is the meaning of all pervading. So he's saying I'm all pervading, but the inner meaning is how his remembrance of the gopis, just like the gopis are also always remembering him, so he is also always remembering the gopis. So that's the inner meaning of the verse. And so every verse he gives like that. There's a direct meaning and there is a hidden meaning. 30th verse. आत्मन्येवात्मनात्मानं सृजेहन्मे अनुपालये आत्ममायानुभावेन भूतेन्द्रिय गुणात्मना. By myself I create, sustain and withdraw myself within myself by the power of my personal energy, which comprises the material elements, the senses and the modes of nature. So here again he is explaining that how he does everything, creation, maintenance, destruction, all that he's doing by the power of his energies. So that is a direct meaning. Okay. So yes, the universe is a result of my Maya Shakti. I create the elements by that Shakti, being my external energy. The Maya Shakti, though one of my forms, is not my Swarupa. But then he says, okay, somebody read from here. For the gopis, the meaning is as follows.
For the gopis, the meaning is as follows. I make my appearance, Atmanam Shujami. Inner minds, Atmani. Ebi, by my own effort.
The E is a...
By my own effort, Atmana. For enjoyment, I maintain that form for a moment. Anupalaye. And then I make that form disappear, Hanami. By what effort? By the power of Yoga Maya, Atmaya Anubhavena. What is yourself, Atmanam, that you make appear? That form with all my limbs, Bhutani, my senses, Indriya, such as eyes, my qualities, Guna, such as beauty, sweetness and cleverness and intelligence, Atma, taken as one element, a compound is expressed in a singular form.
Okay, so this is again the inner meaning of the verse, that so Srijami, these words are used for creation, maintenance and destruction. So the words used are Srije, Anupalaye and Hanmi. So I create, maintain and destroy the universe. But then an inner meaning he says is, I make my appearance in your minds. I make, so Srijami, appearance is referring to I make my appearance in your minds by my own effort. So ultimately Krishna only has to give his remembrance. So therefore he says, by my own efforts I appeared in your minds, and for enjoyment I maintain that form. Okay, so ultimately everything is for Krishna's pleasure. So he maintains that form within the gopis' minds. He maintains that form and then I make that form disappear. So this is the aprakat leela. right? So we were discussing right at the beginning that how Krishna is always present in Vrindavan. Sometimes it is prakat, sometimes it is aprakat. So this is the aprakat Leela. So in an aprakat form, so Krishna makes his appearance within the minds by his own efforts, and then he maintains that form, and then even that form disappears, and then there are intense feelings of separation. So then, verse number 31. आत्मा ज्ञानमय सुशुद्धो व्यतिरिक्तो गुणान्वयः सुषुप्ति स्वप्न जागृद्भिर् माया वृत्तिभिर्ईयते. Being composed of pure consciousness or knowledge, the soul is distinct from everything material and is uninvolved in the entanglements of the modes of nature. We can perceive the soul through the three functions of material nature known as wakefulness, sleep and deep sleep. So here he is explaining that how the soul is different from the gross and the subtle bodies. And so the subtle body goes through these three states of Jagrati, Swapna, Sushupti. They are all the changes within the subtle body, but the soul always remains the same. And so he's basically trying to explain that how he is also always present. Even though there may be changes in the gross body and the subtle body, but he himself always remains. So that is one meaning, and then he explains another. Okay, read this.
The first meaning of the verses is as follows. How can the people of this world know your form? My form is beyond the gunas, called the Paramatma, perceived everywhere. I am Paramatma, Atma, knowledge, Jnanamaya, beyond Maya. In other words, Chit, and have no relation with the gunas. Though I am the creator, due to my Achinta Shakti, Shuddha. Though existing within the bodies, I am separate, Vyatirikta. Though I am the controller of the gunas, I have no relation to the gunas. But that Paramatma can be inferred through the material functions of the mind during waking, sleeping and dreaming.
Continue.
Bhagavatam supports this elsewhere. You can be inferred from the gunas. The Supreme Lord is perceived in all living entities through perception and inference by intelligence. Bhagavatam 2.2.35. The meaning for the gopis is as follows. I, Atma, being full of knowledge, Jnanamaya, though residing in Mathura, I am always conscious of you and never forget you. Though I stay in Mathura, I remain uncontaminated by association with those women, Shuddha. Because, saddened by your sorrow of separation, how could I get pleasure from other women? Thus I remain separate from them, Vyatirikta. For I continue to dwell on your qualities such as beauty and sweetness, Guna Anvaya. Similarly, I can be perceived by you with your mental faculties during sleeping, dreaming and waking states. In deep sleep, you can perceive my general form and qualities as Paramatma. In dreams, you can perceive my particular form and qualities. In waking state, you can perceive me directly in sweet meetings with you, with laughing and dancing and other pastimes.
Okay, so very interesting. So that same verse has a totally different meaning. So he's talking about how he is always conscious. I'm always conscious of you in all states. So that is the hidden meaning, the inner meaning. And though I stay in Mathura, I remain uncontaminated by association with those women. So that was what Radharani was telling, right? She was telling that now you are in Mathura, now you will be satisfied with the ladies of Mathura. Why will you care for simple cowherd girls like us, village girls? So that was Radharani's accusation. And so Krishna is replying to that. And he's saying that though I am in Mathura, I am uncontaminated by the association of those ladies. So that is the meaning of Vyatirikta. I remain separate from them. I am not affected by them. Rather, I am always conscious of you in all states. And so he is conscious of them, and similarly they can also perceive Krishna in all states. So similarly I can be perceived by you with your mental faculties during sleeping, dreaming, waking. Okay, so that's the hidden meaning. So the hidden meaning is only talking of prema, the prema. So externally it appears as if they are verses talking about some jnana, about Krishna's all-pervading aspect. But the hidden meaning is Krishna is simply explaining his prema to the gopis. So, fine. 32. येनेन्द्रियार्थान् ध्यायेत मृषा स्वप्नवद् उत्थितः तन्निरुन्ध्यात् इन्द्रियाणि विनिन्द्र प्रत्यपद्यत. As a person just arisen from sleep may continue to meditate on a dream even though it is illusory, so by the agency of the mind one meditates on the sense objects which the senses can then obtain. Therefore, one should become fully alert and bring the mind under control. Okay, so he's saying that the mind will continue to meditate on the sense objects, so therefore the mind should be under control. So of course, from an external viewpoint, we cannot make out anything about prema, but then there are hidden meanings. Okay, now read this, 32.
Jnana Yoga bears fruit when the mind is restrained. This verse deals with restraining the mind. By the mind, a man in waking state meditates on material objects. In dream as well, by mind he meditates on dream objects, even though they are false. Thus mind and the senses should be restrained. The careful person, Vinidra, acting in this way, gain knowledge. Previous conduct is testified as true by this statement.
Okay, so the external meaning is that yes, one should control the mind and not meditate on the sense objects, and in this way one can meditate on the Paramatma within the heart. So that is the meaning. Okay, now there is an inner meaning. Go ahead.
For the gopis, the following meaning is given. Waking from a swooning condition, a person like you rejects the mind which dwells on objects of the senses such as seeing and touching me, tasting the nectar of my lips and embracing me, which though real because they come from my actual appearance in this world, appear false as in a dream state. Because of that, without sleep, you appeared with eyes and other senses devoid of anjan, sandalwood and color. I know that though I gave you all sorts of enjoyment, you, blinded by attraction, pained by separation, losing all discretion, consider all that enjoyment false. This gives me great unhappiness. I have therefore sent this message to you to say that your enjoyment with me is true.
So that is what the gopis are fearing, right? So the gopis are fearing that, okay, previously we enjoyed with Krishna, but now it seems to be all false. It's finished. Now we cannot enjoy anymore. So what was that enjoyment? It was just like a dream. It was simply false. So therefore, Krishna is answering that accusation and he's saying, no, even though it appears to be false, so here the sense object is Krishna. The sense object is Krishna. And so seeing Krishna, touching him, embracing him, so all that appears false as in a dream state. It appears, but then Krishna is giving assurance that no. I know that though I gave you all sorts of enjoyment, you blinded by attraction, pained by separation, losing all discretion, consider all that enjoyment false. So it is only because of pain and separation that you are considering all that false. But actually your considering that false gives me great unhappiness. I have therefore sent this message to you to say that your enjoyment with me is true. It is not false. Just like in a dream state, yes, that is false. But this is not false. This is true enjoyment. So the gopis give enjoyment to Krishna. Krishna gives enjoyment to the gopis. And that is true. It is not simply a dream. So that is what he's trying to say. Okay, maybe we'll just read from here.
All the methods in the scriptures have as their purpose control of mind. That is the import of this verse. The final subject of the Vedas is control of mind, Ashtanga Yoga, the discrimination of soul and non-soul, Sankhya. Though they have different methods, they all lead to control of mind, just as all rivers lead to the ocean. For the gopis, the meaning is as follows. Just as by control of mind, one can pass over the middle ocean, so you can pass over the pain of separation from me by mind control. That is because the uncontrolled mind makes you think that association with me, which is actually true, is false. The meaning of the words is the same in both these interpretations.
Okay, so here also is making a similar point. So, because of pain of separation, the gopis are thinking that the association with Krishna is false. But he's saying, no, that's not false. You're thinking it to be false is due to your uncontrolled mind. Because of that, you're thinking that association with me is false. But it is false, it is actually true. So, 34, just one second. 34, what's the translation here? But the actual reason why I, the beloved object of your sight, have stayed far away from you is that I wanted to intensify your meditation upon me and thus draw your minds closer to me. Okay, so in this verse he gives the actual reason why he created that separation. Okay, fine. Now let's read this.
Oh Uddhav, by this news you have double our pain. What can we say about messengers who are ignorant of time, place and person? What can we say about you, who have no sense of discretion? You have brought this burden of Brahmagyan this far, but who will buy it in Vraja? Can the gopis, who from birth have been drinking the nectar of Krishna's beauty, now drink the bitter juice of Brahmagyan? In the time of great famine, better that the women give up their lives and starvation than eat grass. Here it is grateful. This Brahmagyan is certainly medicine for the sickness of the material existence, lying in the hearts of the great saintly physicians. But can it be the cure for the great sickness of Krishna Prem? Did those doctors ever research this disease? Learning the scriptures on diagnosis and cure from Sandipani Mani, Krishna has taught you and sent the medicine to relieve the fever of Prem. You can now be our messenger. Take this medicine and go back to its center. Drinking it, he will extinguish his fever of Prem for us. Make him drink it so that no trace of fever remains. But may our fever from Prem remain for 100 births. We will not touch that medicine. Is it possible for the torrents of water that could extinguish the forest of fire to extinguish the fire of lightning bolt? If you find within his message something a little favorable to us, is that his intention or is it just an accident? We have no faith in him. When the gopis began to speak in this angry mood, Uddhav spoke to them. Oh ladies, just hear a moment with attention. As well as Brahmagyan, I have also brought some other message. After speaking this, he then began to offer to them Krishna's words as they listened eagerly with faith. The general meaning of the message is as follows. Though dear to your eyes, I am now far from them. The reason for this is that I desire that you continually meditate on me. By that meditation, your minds get closer to me. I am very close to your minds. Another meaning for the gopis is as follows. Though you are dear to my eyes, you are now situated far away from my eyes, but you are near my mind. From this it should be understood that if one is within eyesight, then one is far from that person's mind. If one is close to someone's mind, one is far from their sight. Since between the two
The mind is more important. I desire that you remain close in my mind. May that be your desire also.
So that is the other meaning. So Krishna wants to be close to the gopis' minds and not physical proximity. So, because being close to the mind is what is more important than simply being close to the eyes. And so therefore, Krishna created that separation. He purposefully did that. That's what he's saying here. He purposefully created that separation so that even though physically they may not be close, but that will create proximity within the mind. And that proximity within the mind is more important than physical proximity. Because ultimately, if the mind is meditating on Krishna, then that is perfection. Right? So the same thing applies for us also. Today morning's class, Srila Prabhupada was saying, Man mana bhavamad bhakto, man mana. So focus the mind on Krishna. So therefore, focusing the mind on Krishna is important because the mind is the leader of the senses. So the mind is focusing on Krishna, then the other senses also will gradually focus on Krishna. So Krishna said in 8.7, Bhagavad Gita, what did he say?
Mam anusmara yuddha cha.
Yes, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhya. Therefore, we find in all those verses, what is 8.5? 8.5?
Antakale cha mam evam smaran.
Yes, antakale cha mam eva smaran muktva kalevam. So there also it is smaran. Smaran takes place where? In the mind. Similarly in the next verse, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam vijati ante kalevam tam tam evati kamtesa. So we find that the remembrance of Krishna is given great importance. Because ultimately whatever one remembers at the time of death, one will get the next body accordingly. In the 29th chapter of the 4th canto, where Narad Muni is explaining his Puranjan allegory to King Prachin Barishat. There we find that Narad Muni is elaborately explaining the power of the subtle body and how important it is for one to transform the subtle body. And therefore, Krishna consciousness is not simply about external engagements. It is important to invest one's consciousness in those activities because it is ultimately the transformation of consciousness that is what is going to determine one's next body. So, on that point, I would just like to read something from the 4th canto. And this is important because in the early days of our Krishna consciousness, we may be more on the external platform and more in the mode of trying to accomplish various services, and that is good and important. But at least as we progress, then one should try to focus not only on the external engagement or the performance of the activity, but one also needs to focus on where my consciousness is. And if we carefully study, even in Lord Kapila's teachings in the 3rd canto, what is it that determines the hierarchy of living entities? Lord Kapila speaks about hierarchy of living entities, correct? What is it that determines this hierarchy? Yes, it is that consciousness that determines. And so therefore, as we progress, then what we need to transform is that consciousness. And it's not simply about external accomplishments. So almost somewhere 48 of this. So here he's talking about those who are less intelligent, the acts of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies as all in all. Okay, so that's a low level of consciousness. This is 48. 429, 48. So here he's talking about, okay, those are less intelligent, for them going to heavenly planets, all that is everything. So here he's saying, so he's saying, the entire world is covered with sharp points of kushagra. So he's basically talking about the karma kanda sacrifices. Because of your foolishness, you do not know that devotional service is the only way one can please the Supreme Personality of God. You cannot understand this fact. Your only activities should be those that can please the Personality of Godhead. Our education should be such that we can become elevated in Krishna consciousness. So here is talking about the conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So once Lord Chaitanya asked Sri Ramananda Rai what the best part of education was, and Ramananda Rai replied that the best part of education is advancement in Krishna consciousness. So what should all our education lead to? Advancement in Krishna consciousness. It's not simply about information download. That's easy. But all that information should lead to advancement in Krishna consciousness. So here he's saying, one who's engaged in devotional service is not the least fear in material existence. This is because the Supreme Personality of God is the super soul and friend of everyone. One who knows the secret is actually educated, and one thus educated can become the spiritual master of the world. One who is an actually bona fide spiritual master, representative of Krishna, is non-different from Krishna. So here he's quoting this verse, Shat karma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnava guru nasya Vaishnava Shwapacha Guru. Okay, and then he's giving the Narmada is giving this analogy of the deer and all that. Go a little more down to some other verses. Right. Now the watch. Now, this is an important section. The great sage Narad continued, the living entity acts in a gross body in this life. This body is forced to act by the subtle body composed of mind, intelligence and ego. You want to know the verse number? 60. Right, this is 60. After the gross body is lost, the subtle body is there to enjoy or suffer. Subtle body always remains along with the soul. Thus there is no change. Right. Therefore, although there is apparently a change in the gross body, there is a continuation between the lives of an individual soul. The living entity, while dreaming, gives up the actual living body. Through the activities of his mind and intelligence, he acts in another body, either as a god or a dog. Of course, this is all Prabhupada's words. After giving up this gross body, the living entity enters either an animal body or a demigod's body on this planet or on another planet. He thus enjoys the results of the actions of his past life. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, The gross body may change, but the subtle body continues to act. Unless the living entity gets another gross body, he will have to continue in a subtle body or a ghostly body. One becomes a ghost when the subtle body acts without the help of the instrumental gross body. The gross body may lie on a bed and rest, and even though the machinery of the gross body is working, the living entity may leave, go into a dream, and return to the gross body. When he returns to the body, he forgets his dream. Similarly, when the living entity takes on another gross body, he forgets the present gross body. The conclusion is that the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego creates an atmosphere with desires and ambitions that the living entity enjoys in the subtle body. So here the entire emphasis of Narad Muni speaking is what? Yes, the importance of the subtle body. And therefore he says actually the living entity is in the subtle body. Even though the gross body apparently changes and even though he inhabits the gross body on various planets. So therefore he says, when the mind is educated in Krishna consciousness or higher consciousness in the mode of goodness, one is transferred either to the upper heavenly planets or to the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets. One therefore has to change his consciousness. One therefore has to change his consciousness by cultivating knowledge received from Vedic instructions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the disciplic succession. If we train the subtle body in this life, what we have to train? Subtle body, that is most important. Train the subtle body in this life by always thinking about Krishna. We will transfer to Krishna Loka after leaving the gross body. This is confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Okay, now read this last paragraph.
Thus the change of gross body is not very important, but the change of subtle body is important. The Krishna consciousness movement is educating people to enlighten the subtle body. The perfect example in this regard is Ambrish Maharaj, who always engaged his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Savai mana Krishna padar vindayo. Similarly, in this life, we should always fix our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, who is present in his Archa Vigraha, the incarnation of deity in the temple. We should always engage in his worship. If we engage our speech in describing the activities of the Lord and our ears in hearing about his pastimes, and if we follow the regulative principles to keep the mind intact for advancing in Krishna consciousness, we shall certainly be elevated to the spiritual platform. Then at the time of death, the mind, intelligence and ego will no longer be materially contaminated. The living entity is present and the mind, intelligence and ego are also present. When the mind, intelligence and ego are purified, all the active senses of the living entity become spiritual. Thus, the living entity attains his Satchidananda form. The Supreme Lord is always in his Satchidananda form, but living entity, although part and parcel of the Lord, becomes materially contaminated when he desires to come to material world for material enjoyment. The prescription for returning home back to Godhead is given by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, so this is the prescription for returning home back to Godhead. Prescription. Right, so here the gopis are also talking about doctors and prescription and medicine. So, so here Prabhupada is giving the prescription for returning home back to Godhead. And so the important point is that how the subtle body needs to be purified, that is the consciousness that needs to be elevated. So that's the important point. Yes, matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Okay, fine. So that's what I wanted to show. This is also a very interesting purport actually. Okay, read this purport. This is 63.
There is an English proverb that says,
okay, we'll read the translations.
One can understand the mental or conscious position of a living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life.
This is something which is very relevant for all of us. By the mental condition or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in a previous life. And in other words, he says, by the consciousness now, one can understand what will be one's future body. Okay?
There is an English proverb that says, the face is the index of the mind. If one is angry, his anger is immediately expressed in his face. Similarly, other mental states are reflected by the actions of gross body. In other words, the activities of the gross body are reactions of the mental condition. The mind's activities are thinking, feeling and willing. The willing portion of the mind is manifest by the activities of the body. The conclusion is that by the activities of the body and senses, we can understand the condition of the mind.
Okay, so by the activities of the body and senses, we can understand the condition of the mind, because the mind is controlling all the senses. So how the body is acting, senses are acting, whether one is, how one is reacting to various situations, whether one is getting angry, whether one is able to control the anger. So how one's gross body and senses are acting shows the mental condition. Okay, and that mental condition shows my consciousness in the past life. Okay. The condition of the mind.
The condition of the mind is affected by the past activities in the past body. When the mind is joined with a particular sense, it immediately becomes manifest in a certain way. For instance, when there is anger in the mind, the tongue vibrates so many maledictions. Similarly, when the mind's anger is expressed through a hand, there is fighting. When it is expressed through leg, there is kicking.
Okay, so the senses are acting. Why?
Mind is.
Because of the mind. There is anger in the mind, then it manifests through the body.
There are so many ways in which the subtle activities of the mind are expressed through the various senses. The mind of person in Krishna consciousness also acts in a similar way. The tongue chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, hands are raised in ecstasy, and legs dance in Krishna consciousness. These symptoms are technically called Ashtasattvika Vikar. Sattvic Vikar is transformation of the mental condition in goodness or sometimes transcendental ecstasy.
Okay, so it's very similar. So when there are emotions in the mind, the emotions in the mind are expressed through the body, right? Even in material condition. So Prabhupada has explained, when there's anger in the mind, then the anger is expressed through the body in different ways. So similarly, when there is sadness in the mind, that is also expressed through the body. Okay, so person is morose, tears in the eyes. So that the emotion in the mind gets expressed through the body. Therefore, Prabhupada began the purport by saying, face is the index of the mind. And unfortunately, that is something one can never hide. How much ever one tries to hide, the emotions which are there in the mind automatically get expressed through the body. Very difficult to hide. And so similarly, when there are transcendental emotions in the mind, then those emotions also get expressed through the body. And therefore, when those mind, they actually overwhelm the person. So it's like when a person is sad, then a person tries to control, correct? He tries to control his emotions, he tries to control his tears. But what happens when the sadness is too much? He cannot control, then automatically the tears start flowing out. Same thing happens on the spiritual platform also. So on the spiritual platform also, the purified devotee who experiences transcendental ecstasy, he also tries to control his emotions. But when those emotions become overwhelming, then those Ashtasattvik Vikar, the transcendental emotions, the transcendental manifestation of the emotions within the mind are manifest through the body. The principle is the same. One is material, other is spiritual. But the important point is that how the subtle body plays a very important role in one's development of consciousness. That is the important point. And all these verses are actually very interesting. And all these are to explain the power of the subtle body. So here he's saying sometimes we suddenly experience something that was never experienced in the present body by sight or hearing. Sometimes we see such things suddenly in dreams. So all this is because of the mind. A few important sentences we'll read. So he's giving examples of sometimes one dreams that one is flying in the sky, although we have no experience of flying. This means that once in a previous life, either as demigod or astronaut, we flew in the sky. The impression is there in the stockpile of the mind, and it suddenly expresses itself. So whatever we see in the mind, whatever we dream, whatever experience we have, it is all because of some impression which has been stored in the mind. And how many impressions are stored? Stockpile, Prabhupada says, stockpile. There is a whole stock. But the wonderful thing of this stock is what? It is all subtle. So at least in mobile and all, how many images can you store? At a certain point it will get full. Right? But in this case, there is no limit because this is on the subtle platform. So there is no limitation. Unlimited photos are stored, unlimited impressions. And when what will come up, nobody knows. So it gives an example. It is like fermentation taking place in the depths of water, which sometimes manifests itself in bubbles on the water's surface. Sometimes we dream of coming to a place we have never known or experienced in this lifetime. But this is proof that in a past life we experienced this. The impression is kept within the mind and sometimes becomes manifest either in dream or in thought. The conclusion is that, the conclusion is important. What is the conclusion? The mind is the storehouse of various thoughts and experiences undergone during our past lives. Thus, there is a chain of continuation from one life to another, from previous lives to this life, and from this life to future lives. This is also sometimes proved by saying that a man is a born poet, a born scientist, or a born devotee. If like Maharaj Ambarish, we think of Krishna constantly in this life, so I'm in a Krishna Padaravindayo, we will certainly be transferred to the kingdom of God at the time of death. This is a hope-giving statement. Even if our attempt to be Krishna conscious is not complete, our Krishna consciousness will continue in the next life. Prapi punya kratam loka. But then he says, if you rigidly follow the principles of meditation on Krishna, there is no doubt that in our next life we'll be transferred to Krishna Loka or Golok Vrindavan. And therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has a subtle mental covering, develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of his previous body. Take this from me as certain. There is no possibility of concocting anything material mentally without having perceived it in the previous body. So all these are very important points to understand that how the subtle body is very important. So again here he says, the conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of our past desires and we have this present body due to our past desires. Similarly, whatever we desire in this present body will be expressed in a future body. Thus the mind is the source of different kinds of bodies. Now please read this paragraph.
If the mind is purified by Krishna consciousness, one will naturally in the future get a body that is spiritual and full of Krishna consciousness.
What has to be purified?
Mind.
The mind has to be purified.
Such a body is our original form. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms, Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnera Nityadas. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 20.108. Every living entity is constitutionally an eternal servant of Krishna. If a person is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, he is to be considered a liberated soul even in his life. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. इहा यस्य हरेर्दासे कर्मणा मनसा गिरा निखिलाश्व अपि अवस्थासु जीवन मुक्तस्य उच्यते. One who engages in the transcendental service of the Lord in body, mind and verse is to be considered liberated in all conditions of material existence. Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu 1.2.187. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. We must teach people to absorb themselves always in the service of the Lord because that position is their natural position. One who is always serving the Lord is to be considered already liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Mam chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunana samatiyetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who always engages in the spiritual activities of unalloyed devotional service at once transcends the modes of material nature and is elevated to the spiritual platform.
Okay, fine. So then he's talking about the Brahmanas. Okay. So anyway, so that's what he is speaking in all the words. Thus the mind indicates the past and future bodies. So the mind indicates. So as Prabhupada writes, the mind is the index of information about one's past and future lives. If a man is a devotee of the Lord, he cultivated devotional service in his previous life. Similarly, if one's mind is criminal, he was criminal in his past life. In the same way, according to the mind, we can understand what will happen in future life. So it's not a very big mystery to understand what the past life was and what the future life will be. By our own consciousness, we can understand this. Okay, fine. So basically, if you want, you can read the further part of the section. The whole section is very interesting actually. But in any case, so coming back to the subject matter of Krishna's message. So Krishna is saying that it is better that I be far away and your mind is focused on me. If I am close to you, your mind may not be focused on me. But if I am far away, your mind will be focused on me. Therefore, I went away. That is what he is indicating in this verse number 34. And that is what the Lord wants to say in this verse. Okay, fine. So that's the essential message. And that's what in the next verse also he indicates the same point. When her lover is far away, woman thinks of him more than when he is present before her. So that is what Krishna wanted to do. He wanted to keep himself away so that the gopis can think of him in a more intensified way. And that's in the verse 36 also he's saying the same thing. Maya veshamana kritsnam vimukta shesha vrittiyat anusmarantyo mam nityam achinan mam upeshyata. Because your minds are totally absorbed in me and free from all other engagement, you remember me always, and so you will very soon have me again in your presence. Okay, so Mai Avesha Mana Kritsnam. You remember any other verse which also begins with Mai Avesha? Which verse is that? Mai Avesha. 12.8. Okay. So, okay, we'll read the purport to the commentary to 36th verse. Somebody read the comment 36th verse here.
O Uddhava, that message also you should keep in the treasure box of your heart. Though now Krishna is enjoying with the women of Mathura, sometime in the future he will be far from their eyes. At that time you can give this message to them. But right now this message is acceptable in Vraja. Previously, even when Krishna was present in Vraja and visible to our eyes, and then was absent of a moment, that moment felt like 100 yugas. During that period of separation appearing like one yuga. The gopis would have brought Krishna near with their mind thousands and thousands of times. When the gopis spoke irreverently in this way, Uddhav replied, O women, if this message doesn't appeal to you, then hear another message from me. I have brought many messages. Then tributed Krishna's verse as you have completely rejected visheshena mukta. Objects like husband, your minds concentrate upon me, Krishna, and you constantly remember me. Because of this, you will very soon attain my personal presence.
Okay, so that's the point that we were discussing. Maya Veshya Manaha, the mind being constantly focused on Krishna. Okay, 31. Then he says, although some devotees had to remain, this is the last verse of Krishna's speech. Although some had to remain the cowherd and so could join the rasa dance, sport with me night in the forest, they were nonetheless fortunate. Indeed, they attained me by thinking of my potent pastimes. So even though they could not join, but their minds were focused. Okay, read.
This verse raised as proof Krishna's personal presence when some gopis in their houses by their husband on the night of rasa dance, as described in the previous verse. Some gopis did not attend the rasa dance with engaged in amusement Krita Maya on the night of the Raslila in Vrindavan. Why was that? Because they being kept in their houses by their husband, Raje Asita. They wanted to die because their desires were not fulfilled and they experienced great pain in separation from me. They attained auspiciousness, that is, they remain alive. By thinking of the rasa dance and other pastime of mine, they attained me. Situated in their
houses in
Raja. Me, because I personally appeared in their houses. After that, on the nights, they also were able to attend the restaurants of bank of the.
Okay, so this is so Krishna is speaking about the meditation in the mind is so important. So even though these gopis could not join the rasa dance physically, but they were so absorbed that they actually took part in the rasa dance in their minds. And so therefore, the important point for us to learn is that how our activities in Krishna consciousness should not be mechanical. Mechanical and ritualistic, then the growth in consciousness will not take place. And therefore, what is important is, as we progress in devotional service, we should also be conscious of where our mind is. As the English saying goes, you are where your mind is. So, one could be in this class, but at the same time may not be in this class. Right? That's good. So if you are meditating on Vrindavan sitting in this class, that is good. So that is good. So, but the point is that where the meditation is, that is what is important. So, if one is simply performing an activity, but the consciousness is not there, then that will not be very pleasing to Krishna. As it is said, physically present, mentally absent. So, that's what Krishna is saying here. Krishna is saying, I purposefully separated myself on a physical platform so on the mental platform I could actually be closer. That's the ultimate message that he's giving. Okay, fine. So that was the message. And then Shukdev Goswami. Yes, Mother?
Even the teacher actually, I feel that the teacher also drags the mind of the student into thinking about Krishna. I mean, at least in your class, I feel that we are dragged to Vrindavan and we are forced to think because the way you actually, give the classes and we are wrapped in attention in your class, not a minute of diversion here and there. Is it that way also, Prabhuji?
That is your good quality, that you are controlling your mind to think of Krishna. What power do I have over your mind? I have no power. Any case, thank you for the compliment anyways. Okay, fine. So then the gopi reply, we already, okay, we finished up to 45 I think yesterday, right? Right, 45. So anyway, we'll revise a few more verses. The gopis are actually then beginning to think Krishna. So somebody just read the translations till 45. It's just like a revision from 39.
Hare Krishna. The gopis said it is very good for gopis said it is very good that Kamsa, the enemy and persecutor of the Yadus, has not, along with his followers, and it is also very good that Lord Achyuta is living happily in the company of his well-wishing friends and relatives, whose every desire is now fulfilled.
Okay, you can pass on, maybe others can.
Gentle Uddhava is the elder brother of Gada, now bestowing on the city woman the pleasure that actually belongs to us. We suppose those ladies worship him with generous glances full of affectionate, shy smiles.
Shri Krishna is expert in all kinds of conjugal affairs and is the darling of the city women. How can he not become entangled now that he is constantly adored by the enchanting words and gestures?
O saintly one, does Govinda ever remember us during his conversations with the city women? Does he ever mention us village girls as he freely talks with them?
Does he recall those nights in the Vrindavan forest, lovely with lotus, jasmine, and the as we glorified his charming pastimes, he enjoyed with us, his beloved girlfriends, in the circle of the rasa dance, which resounded with the music of ankle bells.
Will the descendant of Dasara return here and by the touch of his limbs bring back to life those who are now burning with the grief he himself has caused? Will he save us in that way? Lord Indra brings a first back to life with his water-bearing clouds.
But why should Krishna come here after winning a kingdom, killing his enemies and marrying the daughters of the kings? He is satisfied there, surrounded by all his friends and well-wishers.
Okay, so that is where we had reached yesterday. Let's see if there's something. So here the gopis are thinking that Krishna has now become But then it's interesting, in verse number 42, dear sir, certainly we dejected, therefore we were abandoned by him. But we ask you, though we are the lowest in this world, does he sometimes think of us women that he has rejected after enjoying, whether it is our good points or bad points? So they're taking a humble role. They're thinking, oh, no, we are not so qualified. So therefore he has rejected us, but at least does he think sometimes about us? Mathura, little of the songs you sing, they did not know anything about this because they're from the village. Does he mention us even in the... Okay, read the 43rd one.
Purport, no?
Normal. This commentary.
Vishwanath Chakravarti. Okay. Oh dear gopis, what is the use of criticizing Krishna and the woman of Mathura with crooked words? Why don't you instead speak about other people's good qualities? By our misfortune, Krishna may forget us, but how can he forget the place where he lived? In this way, some gopis speak while crying. He enjoyed with his dear gopis at the Rasa arena in a pleasant Vrindavan, which is resounded with the sounds of camel bells, whose river banks were filled with the white splendor of lotus, jasmine, light. His attractive conversations were praised by the heavenly woman riding in their airplanes. Woman of Mathura, no any such conversation. Wild woman means what?
What's the exact see the meaning?
Wild.
Huh?
Wild is what?
Wild means bad, bad.
Extremely unpleasant,
okay.
wicked, morally bad.
Yes.
So, the wild woman of Mathura know any conversations with him? Where is there such a river bank in Mathura? Where else is the music, song and the dance so pleasing to Krishna? Who in Mathura knows how to make the crowns unguents?
Unguents. I think the ointments like
Unguents,
kajal.
kajal. Garlands and the betel nuts preparation. By remaining in Mathura, Krishna's health has completely disappeared. We will die just thinking of his lack of bliss. If there were some woman in Mathura like us who could please him, then he could enjoy with her dancing, playing the flute and other pastimes. If we heard that such woman existed, then we could remain in Vrindavan happily, even though separate from him. This is the implication of their words.
What is the important quality that we understand from these words?
That they are concerned about. They are concerned about his desire, not theirs.
Yes, exactly. They are most interested in Krishna's happiness, Krishna's pleasure, not their own. So they're not thinking about themselves. They are feeling who will satisfy Krishna in Mathura. If there are some women who will satisfy him, will be satisfied, will be happy. But it is not possible because in Mathura, first of all, there is no such river. There is no river bank, nobody to play such instruments. So how will you be happy in Mathura? So you can see that how. So this is real love. They are not thinking about their own happiness. They are thinking about Krishna's happiness.
Mathura is also on the river bank, no? One side of the river.
Maybe, but not like we were in Vrindavan. Okay.
But there is a sense of, when you read this, there is a sense of this, this thing that, yeah, it's okay, you enjoy, what about us? Like that sort of feeling also comes, that maybe that is the simplicity of the village ladies.
Okay, fine. So we'll take a break and continue. Hare Krishna. Okay, so text 46. Let's recite.
So, one question. Okay. Just before going, because see, when you're reading this, it's always like it's understood from the purports that the gopis are looking at the best interest of Krishna, all that. But in simple words, they are feeling extreme pangs of separation. They are wanting him to be there with them, right? I mean, in simple,
Yes,
it's
that's
their
correct.
want also. It's their want also. Clearly, it's
Yes,
not that they are behaving better than the best or something like that. Too good to be true. That there is that transcendental envy, transcendental greed. That aspect is also there, correct?
right. That is there, but ultimately they are interested only in pleasing Krishna. So
Yes, yes. Okay.
their desire to be with Krishna is also to please him only.
Uh-huh.
We had discussed this point before also. Otherwise, they could
Yeah.
have gone to Mathura from Vrindavan. Why did they not go? They
Because
could.
he did not so. He
Yes,
may have
because
felt.
yes, because Krishna didn't call them. Krishna didn't desire them to be there.
Uh-huh.
So ultimately, they are interested only in pleasing Krishna.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
Prabhu.
the feelings of
Yes.
separation are there. They want to be with Krishna, but ultimately that is only for the purpose of pleasing Krishna.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
Right. That is prema. There is no selfishness there. Okay, fine. 46. किम अस्माभिर्वनौकोभिर् अन्याभिर्वा महात्मनः श्रीपतिराप्तकामस्य क्रियेतार्थ कृतात्मनः. The great soul Krishna is the Lord of the goddess of fortune, and he automatically achieves whatever he desires. How can we forest dwellers or any other women fulfill his purposes when he is already fulfilled within himself? Okay, so here they are saying he is aptakamasya, his desires are already fulfilled, and so therefore they're calling him Mahatmana, his exalted personality. 46. He's a great personality. He can fulfill all his desires on his own. He is completely satisfied. He is completely fulfilled. And he has Shri. He has goddess of fortune. So what is the use of us for him? Purport. Although the gopis lamented that Krishna was associating with the city women in Mathura, they now realize that as the absolute personality of Godhead, he has no need for any woman. It is out of his causeless mercy that he awards his association to his loving devotees. Okay, 47. Param saukyam hi nairashyam swerini apyaha pingala tajjanati namna krishne tatapya asha duratyaya. Indeed, the greatest happiness is to renounce all desires, as even the prostitute Pingala has declared. Yet even though we know this, we cannot give up our hopes of attaining Krishna. So they are saying, what is the use of desiring to attain Krishna? It's never going to come true. Better give up the asha only. If you give up the asha, nirasha hi paramam sukham. If you don't have asha, then we'll be happy. So better give up the asha of achieving Krishna, just like Pingala, she gave up all asha. Because it's very difficult. But still, they say we cannot give up our hopes of attaining Krishna. Tatapi asha duratyaya. That giving up that asha is duratyaya. That giving up that asha of attaining Krishna, that itself is very difficult. So as he says here, therefore you should give up all hopes of attaining him. But we cannot give him up. It is difficult for anyone to give up hope concerning Krishna. Pingala had desires for men other than Krishna, therefore she could give up those desires. Right? But giving up desire for Krishna is not possible because that is natural constitutional position. So that is not possible. 48. Kautsahetas santyaktum uttama shloka samvidam annichatopi yasya shrir angana chavate kvachat. Who can bear to give up intimate talks with Lord Uttama Shloka? Although he shows no interest in her, Goddess Shri never moves from her place on his chest. Okay, read this.
Though a greedy man may not attain his desired object, he cannot give up the desire for the object. Who has the ability to give up the beauty and sweetness of Krishna? Uttama Shloka, once having attained it, no one can. Though Lakshmi is ignored by Krishna. She does not give up the chest of Krishna, but remains there always as a golden line.
Okay, so even though Krishna may not reciprocate, but still the desire to achieve Krishna can never be given up. So that is basically the mode of the Aslishava Padaratam Pinashtamam verse. That Krishna may not reciprocate, but still the devotee never gives up the hope of attaining Krishna. And so therefore, even as sadhakas, so that is the mode, that whether one achieves Krishna or not, but still one's devotional service never diminishes. Just in that context, recently we were in Nasik, so that Jatayu pastime. So apparently Jatayu lost. Neither could he save Sita, nor could he save his own life. So apparently it was total failure. Correct? Total failure. Nothing was achieved. But yet, because there was sincere endeavor on the part of Jatayu, Lord recognized that and rewarded that. So again, as we were discussing yesterday, the same mode of gratitude. So Lord Ram was grateful for Jatayu's endeavor. And so therefore, sometimes as sadhakas, we may also get into a sort of achiever's mode. What can I achieve and show to the world? But it's not just about achievements. Achievements may be there or may not be there. But what Krishna is most pleased is with the sincere endeavor. What is the sincere endeavor that the devotee is making? And so therefore here we find in the lives of these exalted devotees, they are not so much concerned how much Krishna will reciprocate with them, but that is immaterial. Whether Krishna reciprocates with them or not, they are ready to continue their devotional service, even if they are ignored by Krishna. So therefore, what is important is that we get out of that fruitive mentality where we are always thinking about what will be the fruits, what will be the results. And then sometimes we think that achievement of the results itself is success in devotional service. But that may not always be the case. But then what is really more important is what is my consciousness and what are my endeavors to please Krishna. And that's what they're saying over here. So it appears as if it's a hopeless condition, as if Krishna will never come. But still, just like Lakshmi is ignored by Narayan, but still she continues her service. So similarly, even though it appears as if Krishna is not going to reciprocate with them, but still their desire to achieve Krishna and their desire to please him does not diminish. That is the standard of devotional service. You had something to say?
I heard that there is no such, may not be negative, so much confusion.
Little bit separation will be there in spiritual world, but because Krishna is always present there. So here, but as we see in Sikshashtakam at last verse, Chaitanya Prabhu says that Ashishva Padaratam Pinashtumam. But I have heard also from some speaker that in spiritual world actually Krishna does not leave his devotees, he is always there. So then this kind of feeling which we hearing, so they are feeling absence of Krishna. So it's not there. So I'm just asking.
But here also Krishna is not left.
No, he has left, no?
No, he is not left.
He is there in the Paramatma form in the mind.
We read this right on the first day. Right in the beginning, Prabhupada clarifies this, if you remember. Right in the beginning of chapter 46. Prabhupada writes here, many devotees have tried to make adjustments to Krishna's being away from Vrindavan because according to expert opinion, Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, never goes even a step out of Vrindavan. He always remains there. The explanation of expert devotees is that Krishna was actually not absent from Vrindavan. Prabhupada is writing? Hold on. He was actually not absent from Vrindavan. He came back with Nanda Maharaj as promised.
But he remained in uppercut form. He did not remain.
Yes, so that's what Prabhupada is explaining. When Krishna was starting for Mathura on the chariot driven by Akrura and the gopis were blocking the way, Krishna assured them that he was coming back just after finishing his business in Mathura. He told them not to be overwhelmed and in this way pacified them. But when he failed to come back with Nanda Maharaj, it appeared that he either cheated them or could not keep his promise. Expert devotees, however, have decided that Krishna was neither a cheater nor a breaker of promises. Krishna, in his original identity, returned with Nanda Maharaj and stayed with the gopis and Mother Yashoda in his bhava expansion. Krishna and Balaram remained in Mathura not in their original forms but in their expansions as Vasudev and Shankarshan. The real Krishna and Balaram were in Vrindavan in their bhava manifestation, whereas in Mathura they appeared in the Prabhava and Vaibhav expansions. This is the expert opinion of advanced devotees of Krishna. Externally, however, they were absent from Vrindavan. Therefore, when Nanda Maharaj was preparing to return to Vrindavan, there was some discussion between him and the boys concerning how they could live in separation. The conclusion to separate was reached by mutual agreement.
So
My question was this only. So now here is the bhava form, Krishna is there, uppercut form, and the gopis and other devotees are feeling separation. Now in the real spiritual world, so there Krishna is always there, not in the bhava form, his prakat form. So I'm just asking, Prabhuji, so this kind of bhav that even if he rejects the person, so does it appear there also? Sometimes it may appear, but here it's like for so many months together, years together. So I'm asking about this thing.
So what is your reference for this point that in Golok Vrindavan, Krishna doesn't perform this pastime of separating himself? So what is your reference?
I have heard only.
You have to give Shastric reference, then we will accept.
My question is...
Yeah, the Pandit is there, so we...
My question is, here the gopis are saying even though goddess of fortune is neglected by Krishna, ignored by Krishna, still she never leaves the position of the chest of Krishna, always there is the golden hair. And also gopis are also saying that we will never leave Krishna. We will not go to Mathura if somebody is there to serve Krishna in Mathura. Krishna has not called us. So this is one thing. So there is a lot of separation feeling is there. But in spiritual world I have heard from some speakers that there is no much Krishna never leaves.
Spiritual world means precisely you are talking about Golok Vrindavan, right?
Golok Vrindavan, Krishna is in prakat form. He never leaves his devotees. So this kind of separation which we are seeing here, do they also feel in the spiritual world? Because he is always there in the prakat form.
So that I am asking a counter question. So my counter question is, what is your Shastric reference for this statement? Right. So see, just like it is described, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that the killing of demons is only present in Bhauma Vrindavan. Correct? These pastimes of killing demons do not take place in Golok Vrindavan. So does it mean that those pastimes do not take place at all? No, they take place. Yes. So that, but the actual killing of demons is not there, but still there is the excitement of the pastime. The excitement of the pastime is there. So they understand that the demon is coming and then they get prepared and all that, and so the excitement of the whole pastime takes place, though the actual killing does not take place. So my understanding is in this case also maybe something like that could be there. But then this Krishna's pastime of trying to increase the intensity of love of the devotees always takes place, because that is the highest bliss of the devotees, to experience these ecstatic feelings of separation. And Krishna wants to award that transcendental ecstatic bliss to the devotees. So therefore, in my understanding, these pastimes will always take place.
Prabhu, here an interjection. Is it that because in so many millions of universes that Krishna does this pastimes 125 years, 125 years and goes on? 69.12 million universes, say. Now, these pastimes are going on and the same gopis, or maybe different, whatever, they are also going there and there they feel separation. And these are pastimes meant for the Bhauma Vrindavan, which may not be there in the Golok Vrindavan. Finally, everyone ends up there only. And these pastimes are meant for Bhauma Vrindavan only.
So that's what I would like to know the Shastric proof for this, that these pastimes only take place in Bhauma Vrindavan.
Oh.
So if you can give us some Shastric reference, it will be helpful.
See, one more thing that very commonly heard and we all know from hearing from many sources, I don't know the Shastric reference, that it's said that we will be born in Krishna's presence in one of these pastimes in this material world, one of these universes, and then only we'll go to Golok.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
So doesn't that sort of infer, we can infer that, these pastimes here are different from Golok in some way.
So what is what is the logic for the inference?
Inference is that, see, we will be born. Why
Okay,
don't we
that
go
is all
directly
right.
to Golok?
No, that is all right. But from that point, how can you infer that these pastimes only take place in Bhauma Vrindavan?
Without scriptural evidence. Okay. Yes, correct.
Yes.
I don't know, bro, because I just came in between. I am sorry for that.
No problem.
I had some service, so for the other batch. So what I want to express is about Shastra. So Bhagavad Katha Prabhu can corroborate what I am saying is right or not. So it is in Jiva Goswami clearly says that which pastimes happen in Bhauma Vrindavan and which don't happen. So number one is birth of Krishna. Number two, leaving, like the 11th and 9th and 10th and 11th chapters of leaving to Dwarka and returning, leaving Astinapur, going Dwarka, like leaving to Mathura. Now those pastimes, he mentions that also. And some killing demons as well, I think.
Yes, killing
demons,
like that is correct.
So and so on. So that is one thing which I reflected. Bhagavad Katha Prabhu can comment whether it is correct or is it. Jiva Goswami says like. I mean, do I have to show the verse or?
No, I mean, you can show me later, no problem.
I would have to find out.
So he is asking whether this pastime of Krishna leaving Vrindavan to go to Mathura, that also is only in Bhauma Vrindavan?
That's what it implies based on what I shared just now.
Okay.
But the point is the separation. Atati yad bhavan ahani kaanam. So this is 64 days plus 5 days. and that is one day or whatever. Now when Krishna goes to forest. So for them, that little bit, blinking of eye is one yuga.
Correct.
So these differences are, it's our thinking.
Correct.
For them it is like, little bit not there, that also is separation.
Correct.
So then it comes to the principle of Sambhoga and Vipralamba. So that keeps on happening every day for all rasas.
Correct.
So in principle these things are happening.
Correct.
But the details are varying here, because then that's how the details are coming in, that the gopi which was not allowed, but she entered and all. So this is all Bhavam Vrindavan stuff. It appears to me like that.
Yeah,
so
fine.
the verse I need to find.
Yeah, but the principle of the feelings of separation always remain. Yes, that's correct.
They feel the similar thing every day.
Yes, when Krishna goes to the forest. Yes. For them, yes, even as you rightly said, even the blinking of eye, they're cursing Brahma. Yes, that's true. Okay, fine. So let's proceed. So we are on 48. So in 48 they are saying, who can bear to give up intimate talks with Lord Uttama Shloka? Although he shows no interest in her, Goddess Shri never moves from her place on his chest. So who can give up? Even though Krishna may not reciprocate, but who can give up talking about him? Okay, 49. Sarichaila vanodesha gavo veno ravame sankarshana sahayena krishnena charita prabhu. Dear Uddhav Prabhu, when Krishna was here in the company of Sankarshan, he enjoyed all these rivers, hills, forests, cows and flute sounds. We'll just finish reading these verses of the gopis till 52 and then we will read the commentaries. 50. Puna puna smarayanti nanda gopa sutambata shriniketais padake vismritam naiva shaknumaha. All these remind us constantly of Nanda's son. Indeed, because we see Krishna's footprints which are marked with divine symbols, we can never forget him. 51. Gatya lalityodara hasa leelavalokanai madhya gira hritadhya katam tam vismaramahe. Oh Uddhav, how can we forget him when our hearts have been stolen away by the charming way he walks, his generous smile and playful glances and his honey-like words. And the last verse, He Natha He Ravanatha Vraja Natharti Nashana Magnam Uddhara Govinda Gokulam Vrijinarnavat. O Master of the Goddess of Fortune, O Master of Raja, O Destroyer of all suffering, Govinda, please lift your Gokul out of the ocean of distress in which it is drowning. Okay, here they quote from Vishwanath Thakur only. So anyway, so we will read from here. Okay, so we read 48, so you can read from 49-50.
Vishwanath Chakravarti 49. 49?
49-50, here it's combined.
Okay, I think here it is not there. Vishwanath Chakravarti, na? Oh. When the memory of desired objects, that only? Okay. When the memory of a desired object vanishes, the hopes for it also vanish. However, that will never happen with us. We can never forget him. This is expressed in 3 verses. Okay. The rivers, hills, forest, cows and the flute were served or used architaha by Krishna. We cannot forget him because of his footprints remaining in the earth and stone marked with the thunderbolt flag and the other symbols.
Okay, next.
Next, directly. If you keep that.
Yes.
If you keep remembering him by looking at the rivers and mountains, then bind, okay,
a cloth around your eyes.
okay, then blind cloth around your eyes, and then by directing the mind elsewhere by the intelligence, you can forget him. So this Uddhava is saying though.
Yes.
Okay. How can we forget him? It is not possible because we have no intelligence. He has stolen it. Oh Uddhava, our hearts have been stolen by his sweet madhya words.
Okay, so Uddhava is giving suggestion wherever you see Krishna, so close your eyes with cloth. They are saying, closed eyes, but our minds and intelligence are fixed on him. He has stolen it. So what can we do?
Then ignoring Uddhava, the gopis in extreme distress turned towards Mathura and called out Krishna in pitiful voices. O Krishna, in this text the first phrase is Hey Krishna, Hey Ramanath.
Hey Ramanath.
Hey Ramanath. You attract our minds, though we are unqualified. O Lord of Lakshmi, Ramanath, you are the great treasure of wonderful sweet pastimes begged. Nanya Mana, Nathyamana, even by Lakshmi. Okay, you are the great treasure of wonderful sweet pastimes begged even by Lakshmi. O Master of Vrajnath, Vraja should take shelter of you, Natheti. O remover of suffering, previously lifted up Govardhan, you were the remover of the pain caused by Indra. By coming personally here, please deliver Gokul, which will be destroyed today or tomorrow due to the ocean of most intense suffering caused by separation from you. O Govinda, protect the cows which you yourself tended. But what will happen if we send this message to him? Enough of this.
So in the purport here, towards the end, they are mentioning, in this heart-rending verse, the gopis cry out to Krishna to remember the wonderful, sweet relationship they once enjoyed together as innocent village people. Indeed, Sri Krishna would lovingly take care of his father's cows, and the gopis appealed to him to remember these duties and return so he could resume them. Okay, text 53. Shukdev Goswami continued, Lord Krishna's messages having relieved their fever of separation, the gopis then worshipped Uddhav, recognizing him as non-different from their Lord Krishna. Purport, Srila Sridhar Swami states that the words Gyatvatmanam Adokshajam also indicate that the gopis recognize Lord Krishna to be the very soul of their lives and are spiritually one with them. 54. Uddhav remained there for several months, dispelling the gopis' sorrow by chanting the topics of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Thus he brought joy to all the people of Gokul. Purport, the great Acharya Jiva Goswami comments in this regard that Uddhav during his stay in Vrindavan certainly took special care to enliven Krishna's foster parents Nanda and Yashoda. 55. All the days that Uddhav dwelt in Nanda's cowherd village seemed like a single moment to the residents of Vraja, for Uddhav was always discussing Krishna. Text 56. That servant of Lord Hari, seeing the rivers, forests, mountains, valleys and flowering trees of Vraja, enjoyed inspiring the inhabitants of Vrindavan by reminding them of Lord Krishna. Okay, so that's how he dispelled the feelings of separation by reminding them of Krishna. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami points out that as Uddhav wandered about Vrindavan, he reminded Vraja's residents of Krishna by asking them questions about the pastimes of the Lord, the pastimes the Lord had performed in each of these places, namely the rivers, forests, mountains and valleys. Thus Uddhav himself enjoyed great transcendental bliss in their association. So this is what devotees are supposed to do. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantas shimam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So this is how the devotees, they derive great transcendental bliss by discussing about Krishna and Krishna's service. Text 57. Drishtvevam adi gopinam Krishna veshatma viklavam Uddhava parama pritas tanamasyanidam jagau. Thus seeing how the gopis were always disturbed because of their total absorption in Krishna, Uddhav was supremely pleased. Desiring to offer them all respect, he sang as follows. Okay, so we read before also, seeing the great absorption, feelings of separation of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, that time also Uddhav was greatly pleased. And now seeing the absorption of the gopis, again Uddhav is extremely pleased. Please read this purport.
Viklava, mental disturbance, should not be confused here with the ordinary material distress. It is clearly stated that Uddhav was supremely pleased, and he felt this way because he saw that the gopis had attained the highest state of loving ecstasy. Uddhava was an exalted member of the court in Dwarka, an important minister in the world political affairs, and yet he felt the spiritual urge to offer his obeisances to the glorious gopis. Although externally they were mere cowherd girls in an insignificant village called Vrindavan. Thus, to explain his feelings, he sang the following verses. Srila Jiva Goswami states that Uddhava sang these verses daily when he was in Vrindavan.
Okay, so there are 5 verses which are describing the glories of the gopis which Uddhav is singing. We'll just complete this, few more verses, we'll complete the chapter. Okay, text 58. Okay, let's try to recite. Eda param tanubrito bhuvi gopavadvo govinda eva nikilatma nirudha bhava vanchanti yadbhava bhiyo munayo vayam cha kim brahma janma birananta katharasasya. Okay, read the translation purport.
All persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages and by ourselves as well. For one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahmana or even as Lord Brahma himself? Srila Vishnu Chakravarti explains that here the term Brahma Janmabhi, Brahmanical births, refers to the threefold births by seminal parenthood, sacred thread initiation and sacrificial initiation. These cannot compare to pure Krishna consciousness. In fact, Sri Uddhava, who spoke this verse, took birth as a pure Brahmana, but he deprecates this position in comparison to that of the exalted gopis.
Okay, so in this way is glorifying the love of the gopis, which is hankered for vanchanti, who all desire vanchanti yad bhavabhyo, those are afraid of material existence, munayo, the great munis, vayam, we. Okay, so everyone is, all the great devotees hanker for this devotional service of the gopis. 59. Kvema striyo vanacharirya bichara dushtaha Krishne kvachesha paramatma nirudha bhavaha Nanvishvaro najubhajato vidushapi sakshat Shreyastanotya agadaraja ivopayuktaha.
How amazing it is that these simple women who wander about the forest, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior, have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Krishna, the Supreme Soul. Still it is true that the Supreme Lord Himself awards His blessings even to an ignorant worshipper. Just as the best medicine works even when taken by a person ignorant of its ingredients. Purport. The use of the word qua in the first 2 lines indicates a sharp contrast between apparently incompatible items. In this case, the apparently insignificant and even impure position of the gopis mentioned in the first line and their attainment of the highest perfection of life mentioned in the second. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes 3 types of adulterous women. The first is a woman who enjoys both her husband and a lover, being faithful to neither. Both ordinary society and scriptures condemn this conduct. The second type of adulterous woman is she who abandons her husband to enjoy only with her lover. Society and scriptures also condemn this behavior, although such a fallen woman may be said to at least have the good quality of dedicating herself to a single man. The last kind of adulterous woman is she who abandons her husband and enjoys in the attitude of being a lover of the Supreme Lord alone. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that although foolish common people criticize this position, such behavior is commended by those who are wise in spiritual science. Therefore, learned members of society and revealed scriptures praise such single-minded devotion to the Lord. Such was the gopis' behavior. Thus the term Vyabhichara Dushta, corrupted by deviation, indicates the apparent resemblance between the gopis' behavior and that of ordinary adulterous women.
Okay, so even though apparently these ladies were striyo vanacharir vyabhichara dushtaha, so they're simple residents of the forest, vanachari, who wander in the forest, and vyabhichara, they have improper behavior, but still they achieved paramatmani ruda bhavaha. So they achieved mahabhava, even though they were apparently simple village girls or forest dwellers. So that shows that it's not about any material qualification that is important in achieving the Supreme Lord. 60. Nayam shriyo anga unitantarate prasadaha Svaryoshitam nalinagandha rucham kutonya Rasotsavesya bhujadanda grihita kantha Labda shishamya udagad vrajavallabhinam.
When Lord Krishna was dancing with the gopis in a rasa dance, in the Rasa Leela, the Rasa Leela, the gopis were embraced by the arms of the Lord. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or other consorts in the spiritual world. Indeed, never was such a thing even imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, whose body luster and aroma resembles the lotus flower. And what to speak of worldly women who are very beautiful according to material estimation. Purport. The word meaning and translation for this verse are taken from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8.80. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments as follows. Lord Krishna, the best of all avatars, exists on the highest platform of purity and morality, and thus he always remained praiseworthy by all, even while accepting worldly criticism for his cow tending, wandering the forest, taking meals with young monkeys, stealing yogurt, seducing other men's wives, and so on. Similarly, the gopis, who are constituted of the Lord's pleasure potency, achieved the highest standard of purity and auspiciousness, even in comparison to the goddess of fortune, and thus the gopis are supremely glorious, even though they were criticized by worldly people because they were mere cowherd women living in the forest and behaving in an apparently improper way.
So they achieved the highest favor of the Supreme Lord, being embraced by Krishna, which was not even attained by the Lakshmi of the spiritual world. And so in the next verse, Uddhava is expressing a desire. Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam yadustyajam svajanamarya patam chakhitva bejur mukunda padavim shrutibhir vimigriyam.
The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons and other family members who are very difficult to give up, and they have forsaken the path of chastity to take the shelter of lotus feet of Mukunda, Krishna, which one should search for by Vedic knowledge. Oh, let me be fortunate enough to be one of the bushes, creepers or herbs in Vrindavan, because the gopis trample them and bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. purport. The word meanings and translation for this verse are taken from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita until 7.47. Shri Uddhav here shows the perfect Vaishnava attitude of humility. He does not pray to be equal to the gopis in their exalted stage of love, but rather to take birth as a bush or creeper in Vrindavan, so that when they walk upon him, he will get the dust of their feet and thus be blessed. The shy gopis would never agree to give such blessings to a great personality like Uddhav. Therefore, he cleverly sought to get such mercy by taking birth as a plant in Vrindavan.
So here he is expressing his desire. Vrindavane kimapi gulmalata aushidhinam. So he is satisfied. So here he is expressing his deep humility. So he is not aspiring to have the same position as the gopis, but he is simply wanting to be some insignificant herbs, bushes, grass, so that automatically, without even asking, he can get the dust of the lotus feet of these exalted devotees. So we can see that such an exalted devotee is Uddhav, but he is not aspiring to become a gopi. He is satisfied simply to become some herbs and bushes. Right. And unfortunately, Sahajiyas who have no understanding of genuine Vaishnava qualities, they think they can imitate the gopis and achieve the favor of the Supreme Lord. How is that possible? So here Uddhav is showing what are the true qualities of a Vaishnava. So the Vaishnava never wants to become great, nor does he want to show himself as great. But the Vaishnava is satisfied in rendering the most menial service for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And so therefore, this is what we have to learn from the Bhagavatam. As His Honorable Purnachandra Maharaj he told us during the Bhakti Shastri classes, we shall not try to become great devotees, but good devotees. Yes, a part of being good is grateful. But the important point is that our aspirations are not to become great devotees in the eyes of the mundane world, but our aspiration is to please the Supreme Lord by humble service attitude. That is what Uddhav is teaching us here. Two more verses of Uddhav. Uddhav's song, which is mentioned, he sings every day in glorification of the gopis. If you remember right in the first canto, as Bhishma Dev is about to leave his body, even at that time, Bhishma Dev is remembering the gopis. Understanding that the gopis are very dear to the Supreme Lord, Bhishma Dev is remembering them so as to attract the favor of the Supreme Lord. Because by pleasing the devotees, one grabs the attention of the Supreme Lord. Yes, Prabhu.
From the attitude of we adore and we appreciate this that attitude of Uddhava, in appreciating the devotion of gopis and like this. So when that's why they are taking the dust, and when we see this Raganuga sadhana devotees who try to follow the moves, footsteps. So not, that means trying to see the rasa. Is it that because of Uddhava's the rasa disposition? Is it different? That's why I'm not trying to discount the fact that he is adoring, that we fully respect and appreciate. We are not at all having any, but can we see it like this?
I'm not very sure, but let's see if something is there in the commentary. Okay, you can read this commentary of 61st verse.
As it has been proved that the gopis' love is the most rare to attain, it would be improper to have desire for it. Therefore, it was with lack of judgment that I have said that Mahabhava, which those desiring liberation, those liberated, and devotees like me desire in verse 58. But now with consideration, let me express my desire for that Mahabhava anyway. I desire to be born as some low shrub, creeper or grass upon which the gopis place their feet. But what is the supreme excellence of their worship that you desire their foot dust rather than that of Lakshmi and others? I have never seen such intense worship in which they give up all consideration of social custom, shyness and sense control. Every night giving up social restraints which are as hard as thunderbolts, they go to meet Krishna and returning do even consider what is the correct route. If I remain as grass on the path, their feet will touch my head. If I beg pitifully 1,000 times, they will not put their foot dust on my head. Therefore my life will be successful if I am born as a blade of grass.
Well, that's what he says. So, I don't know to comment on the point that you are asking, that whether it is his constitutional position, that's what you're asking, right?
Bhishma is appreciating, he is appreciating.
Yes.
Admires their devotion. So he is also appreciating, but one step higher he is doing is that he wants their dust on feet and he begs for that position. So Bhishma's mood is surely not of, Raganuga's following in the line of gopis. So is it to be seen like that? Is Uddhavas also need to be seen like that?
Seen like that means? As a Raganuga Bhakta?
No, like Bhishma. Bhishma is adoring Gopi's devotion.
Right.
As any great devotee will admire Gopi's devotion.
Correct.
But in case of Raganuga followership, they will not, they are not assisting in their service. They are not, that second type of Raganuga, like that.
So, here where is the question of Raganuga? Uddhava is already on the platform of Prema. Raganuga sadhana leads to Bhava and Prema, correct?
So, because he is situated at the Prema in a different rasa, that's why his adoration is in this way, is it to be seen? Like, it's not the mode of assistance of their service.
So you're asking, rather than trying to assist, he wants to...
He is adoring and he wants the dust.
Yes.
Is it because of the situation of his rasa?
Which rasa?
His rasa in the sense of Sakhya or I'm not sure.
No, Uddhav is basically a Dwarkavasi. And so he has Prema for the Lord. He is situated on the platform of Prema. And he is definitely a friend to Krishna. But at the same time, so you can say he has Sakyaras, but at the same time he also has that awe and respect. So it is something like Mahatma Gyan Prema. So there is Prema, but with awe and reverence. So because there is Prema, then he is acting as an intimate friend. They sit together, chat together, sleep together, all that is there. So that is Prema. But at the same time, he has knowledge of Krishna's opulences, his position as the Paramatma. And so therefore, that is Uddhav's position. But that is why Krishna sent Uddhav to study the Prema of the gopis, which is Kevala Prema, which is devoid of that sense of awe and respect. It's Kevala Prema. And that is why Krishna sent Uddhav to Vrindavan. And that is what now he has understood, he has appreciated that. He's appreciated the exalted position of the gopis, and therefore he wants to take a subservient position so that he doesn't want to come to that platform. So therefore here he is mentioning that previously in verse number 58 he said that devotees like me, and in verse number 58 he said, their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages, and by ourselves as well. And so now he's thinking, how could I ask that? How can I think I can ever get that Mahabhava Prem of the gopis? I can never get it. So therefore he is thinking, okay, at least if I get their foot dust, then I can come somewhere close to that prem of the gopis. I can never become like them. I can never actually come to that position. But at least let me get something, come somewhere close to that by getting their foot dust. So that is the consciousness in which he is praying here.
Prajit, just progressing on this thought. So he is having prema,
correct,
and a specific rasa, and yet he is praying in that 58 shloka to develop such a prema, achieve the perfection. Their pure love. He is hankering. So if you see it a little in the analytics of this, he has already attained prema. So he is hankering for the prema like
of the gopis, which is on a higher platform.
In that same plane, later he says that he desires their foot dust. So because for a sadhaka bhakta, is it, we are not surely going in the line of sahajiyas who immaturely imitate this. So if someone desires in the tat bhava, that type of raga anuga, like that, not imitating. So is it right to say that Uddhava only desired the feet or dust of the gopis? How can you emulate? Is that a right way of saying?
No, so basically you are asking, so how can a sadhaka try to emulate the gopis or follow in their footsteps? If such an exalted person as Uddhav, he only wants foot dust and he doesn't want to emulate, then how can a sadhaka do that? Is that your question?
To support this, you earlier told that he is already in a perfected prema of other rasa, but here he is someone who is trying to follow, he is desiring perfection for mood of raga, no? So is it not fine for him to emulate in that bhava mood? Like sometimes we hear this, that Uddhava did not desire, so why are you transgressing, like that? So is that demand?
Talking about Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, so now if you read that section in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, so Raganuga Bhakti basically means following in the footsteps of the Ragatmika devotees of Vraja. And that can be done in all the various rasas, 4 rasas of Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakya and Dasya. One can follow in the footsteps of the Vrajvasis. Now, first of all, who can do that? Srila Prabhupada explains very clearly. Who can do that? Okay, one who has greed, laulyam. But what is the qualification? What's the pre-qualification to even enter into Raganuga Bhakti?
Spontaneous love for the Lord.
Contamination.
Yes, exactly. Free of material contamination. Prabhupada says anartha nivritti has to be complete. So first of all, anartha nivritti has to be complete. When anartha nivritti is complete, when one is totally free of material contamination, then on that platform one's eternal constitutional position in the spiritual world may be revealed by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. It's a matter of revelation. It's not a matter of choice. So that is revealed to the sadhaka. And when it is revealed to the sadhaka, then he begins to follow in the footsteps of that particular Brajvasi. Now, when he does that, again, there are two aspects, and there is that famous verse, Seva Sadhaka Rupena. So, there is the eternal form of that Brajvasi in the spiritual world, and then at the same time that personality may also have a form as a sadhaka. To give an example, there is Rupa Goswami, who is Rupa Manjari in Golok Vrindavan, and also is presenting himself as a sadhaka in Gaur Leela. So when the sadhaka performs Raganuga Bhakti, externally he tries to follow in the footsteps of the sadhana of that Vrajavasi. And following in the footsteps in the bhava of the eternal associate of the Lord in Vrindavan is only in meditation. So externally he still continues to act as a sadhaka. So it is not that externally also he behaves like that Vrajvasi. No. So that is only an internal meditation. And so therefore, even a sadhaka who is performing Raganuga Bhakti will never externally show that he is following some gopi or gopa or anyone. And therefore, there Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point, and he says that even the most advanced devotees simply behave like a neophyte. They are not neophytes, but they behave like a neophyte in the sense that their sadhana continues as a sadhaka. It is not that the advanced devotees will ever show, oh, now we are advanced, now we don't have to follow any rules, regulations, now we can do anything. No, that never happens. So even the most exalted devotees, their external behavior will always be as a sadhaka. And their eternal relationship which they have in a particular rasa is always internal. It is never meant for advertisement. Because the most exalted devotees are always humble. So therefore, advancement in devotional service is not meant for advertisement. That goes against the principles of Vaishnavism. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes in 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, when the first verse of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers to Lord Narasimhadev, what is that? So he is calling himself Ugra Jate, Brahma Deyo. So that verse. So where it is expressing this humility that these great personalities, Devatas and Sattva, they are not able to pacify Lord Narasimhadev, then what about me who is Ugra Jate, who is simply born in demoniac family, how can I pacify? And in that verse purport, Srila Prabhupada is essentially talking about humility. He speaks about the humility of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And the last sentence of that purport, Prabhupada writes a very interesting point. He says, a Vaishnav must not be proud of his Vaishnav qualities. So therefore, The Vaishnav never shows pride and he never shows that I'm an exalted devotee. So therefore, the person who's performing Ragana Bhakti or Bhava or Prema never shows it. And so therefore, here Uddhav is showing the perfect Vaishnav quality of absolute humility. And so therefore, he is already on the level of Prema. He is already on the perfected platform. But it is sheer Vaishnav humility that he definitely understands. And of course, from an objective analytical viewpoint, it is correct. The Gopis' Prem is on a higher platform. Correct. But at the same time, Uddhav is on no less platform. He is also on a perfected platform. But yet, it is the nature of a Vaishnav to be humble. And so therefore, he is thinking that the Gopis are so exalted, I can never come to their platform. And I can never expect to come to that platform also. But if I simply get the dust of the lotus feet, then maybe I'll come somewhere close. Maybe I can make some progress. So we have to understand that this verse only from the viewpoint of Vaishnav humility. Otherwise, from an objective viewpoint, Uddhav is in one sense as exalted as the Gopis. Hope that helps somewhat. Okay. Fine. Okay. A question, or you want to add some comments?
Question. So my question is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling us and giving us something which even Uddhava time he has not yet appeared. After that he appeared, and it is said that he is going to give that, which is never given, which is
for a long time.
Ujjvala Rasa.
Anarpita Charim Chirat.
Charim Chirat, which was never given, and Unnata Ujjvala Rasa,
yes,
which is the
Shringar Ras.
Not just Shringar Ras, but the fully developed Shringar Ras. Unnata Ujjvala,
yes.
Ujjvala Ras. Unnat is fully developed, that is Mahabhav.
Correct.
Yes. So he has come to give. So my question is, you said very beautifully that what we meditate internally. So my question is, what should be the aspiration? Because I am not talking about any external things here, because that's not about, you said that. So as Radha Gopinath Prabhu said, our advancement depends on our aspiration. So when Mahaprabhu has come to give, so what I should aspire? I should aspire like Uddhava, or I should aspire like Rupa Goswami. What should be my aspiration within? I am sorry to ask in public, because, but it's an educational forum, so I am
absolutely
trying to...
no problem. It's a perfect question, and we have the perfect answer.
So that's what I am eagerly waiting.
As told by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Naham Vipro Nachanarapatir Gopir Bhartur Padakamalayur Das 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 Anudas. That is our only aspiration.
Prabhu, on these lines, one more.
Wait. Let Samarpan Gopru finish his inquiry.
I was also thinking same thing, aspiration, because that's the highest verse. So as he was asking that, is it not a problem that Uddhava is not aspiring for that, so how I can? So I can surely aspire.
Yes, I can aspire to be servant of the servant.
Mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, I can aspire for that.
Aspire for what?
Aspire for Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Das Das Dasanu Das.
Yes, that's perfect. That's in line with Mahaprabhu's teaching.
Yes, which Uddhava here doesn't seem to feel himself.
Isn't that contradictory?
That's what I'm trying to ask.
So when he's aspiring for the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis, what does that mean? Whose dust one takes?
Principle of humility, I am trying to understand since 15 years, so till now I am not understood. So we'll not talk about it at least because it's a theory. My Guru Maharaj says that it's a most esoteric thing and it cannot be understood in one lecture. So I don't want to talk on the quality as per because it's very esoteric to understand.
Maybe.
My question is whether what Mahaprabhu has come to give and becoming dust. So would a Gaudiya Vaishnava desire to become dust? Because dust cannot serve Krishna.
No, he is not desiring to become dust. He wants the dust.
Sorry. So Gulmalata. Okay. Let us come to Gulmalata. So whether a Gaudiya Vaishnava follower of Rupa Goswami and Prabhupada should aspire to become a tender creeper or he should aspire to no, not Gopi. Any other Vrajvasis in 4 rasas, which you mentioned, 4 rasas, Vatsalya, because the greed is mentioned by you.
See, Prabhu, you are talking from a very external viewpoint. Sorry to say that.
External viewpoint, so I can ask that only, na Prabhu.
See, after having this direct experience of the exalted prema of the gopis, Sakshat Darshan, he has that direct experience and he is so overwhelmed by that experience that he is just humbled. He is just humbled by that experience and he is just aspiring for the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis. That's all. It's in a perfect mode of service. He is thinking himself so unqualified for anything else. He's thinking, I'm so unqualified that if I get simply the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis, I'll be worthy of something. This is the epitome of humility of Uddhav. We cannot analyze the feelings of such exalted Vaishnavas from a material perspective. These are words of total humility, where he is feeling himself so unqualified for anything. And he's thinking, if I just get the dust of the lotus feet, then my life, I will become worthy of something. Actually, I'm not worthy of anything. That is what he's trying to express. These are words of total humility. Just like Srila Prabhupada, as he wrote the Markandeya Bhagavad Dharma, what is he writing? The Vaishnava society has given him the title Bhakti Vedanta, but what is he feeling? I'm not qualified for this. He's saying, you make these words come true, you make this title come true. He's saying, I don't have the words. You please give me the words by which these people's hearts can be transformed. I'm simply a puppet in your hands. You make me dance. And how does he sign off the letter? Your most insignificant beggar. If we see it from a material viewpoint, one may think that Srila Prabhupada is unqualified. Therefore, he is praying like that. When the devotees first got this letter in Bombay, there was Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Yamuna Mataji and some of these devotees who first came to India. They were staying in Bombay at that time. So Actually, I think so. That article is written by Giriraj Maharaj. So Yamuna Mataji was reading this letter. And as she was reading this letter, her voice was getting choked up reading this. And by the time she came to the end, your most insignificant beggar, she just broke down into tears. This is Vaishnava humility. Though most exalted, a Vaishnava considers himself to be most unqualified. This is Vaishnava humility. It is not something which can be analyzed or understood with imperfect senses. And therefore, it's not that Uddhav is in any way less qualified. It's not that he doesn't want to serve. He is on the level of prema. What will be his level of service attitude? Can we even imagine that? Can we imagine the service attitude of a devotee on the level of prema? How can I analyze that service attitude and think that he has less service attitude, therefore he wants to become Gulmalata? How can I portray material conceptions on the highest level of Vaishnava thinking? It's not possible. So therefore, he's already on the level of prema, means what is his level of service attitude? He's already on the perfected platform. So it is simply out of sheer humility that is aspiring to simply get the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis. Because he's so overwhelmed by the prema of the gopis, he feels himself to be so insignificant and worthless. That's the mood. So therefore, our aspiration always has to be to simply try to serve. That's all. Even the plants in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada explains in his lectures. Even the plants in Vrindavan, the fruits in Vrindavan, the flowers in Vrindavan, they are all in their perfected forms of service to Krishna. It's not that they are not rendering service. Every entity in Vrindavan is sentient, conscious, and is simply rendering service. There is no high or low in the spiritual world. Everyone is rendering service. Even the grass is rendering service. Even the grass is in the perfected form in the spiritual world. We cannot think that the grass in Vrindavan is not rendering service. The grass is also rendering service. But yet, these words of Uddhav must only be understood, can only be understood from the viewpoint of Vaishnava humility. Does it help?
I beg forgiveness from Uddhava, first of all. It seems that I have wrong feelings about him. So I beg forgiveness, I don't know, millions of times. That please forgive me, and I beg forgiveness from you also.
No, we are simply trying to understand.
I pray that I will able to accept and understand clearly what you are saying actually. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, fine.
Prabhu, one interjection, one small dry question, very drier than previous maybe, I don't know. But why do we have to worry about what we have to aspire? Isn't it that we are anyway, if ever we have to aspire, then it's going to be our real identity. And once we are in our real true identity, then it doesn't matter. You are always going to respect the other types of devotees, and you're never going to deviate from that. Is that right understanding that we have already?
Yes. No problem, no problem. Yes. So our at present we can only aspire to serve. That's best, right? And what we will become, that Krishna will take care. No problem. Fine. Let's proceed. And yes, we definitely have to finish this chapter. Okay. There are two more verses of Uddhava's song. Text 62. या वै श्रियार्चितमजाधिभिराप्तकामेर् योगेश्वरैरपि यदात्मनिरासगोष्ठ्याम् कृष्णस्य तद्भगवतश्चरणारविन्दम् न्यस्तं स्तनेषु विजहु परिरभ्यतापम्. The goddess of fortune herself, along with Lord Brahma and all the other demigods, who are masters of yogic perfection, can worship the lotus feet of Krishna only within her mind. But during the rasa dance, Lord Krishna placed his feet upon these gopis' breasts, and by embracing those feet, the gopis gave up all distress. Okay, it's glorifying the gopis, that the fortune which they had was not even achieved by Lakshmi, Shri, or Aja, that is Brahma, and Adibi, the other demigods. Even they could not get this great fortune. And the last verse. Vande Nanda Brajastrinam Padarenum Avikshnashah Yasam Hari Katogdiktam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. I repeatedly offer my respects to the dust from the feet of the women of Nanda Maharaja's cowherd village. When these gopis loudly chant the glories of Sri Krishna, the vibration purifies the three worlds. Sri Uddhava, having established the glories of the gopis in the previous verses, now directly offers his obeisances to them. According to the Sri Vaishnav Toshani, Sri Uddhava did not offer such respect even to Lord Krishna's queens in Dwaraka. Okay, somebody can read the translations of the remaining few verses.
Sukdev Goswami said, Uddhava, the descendants of Dasharha, then took permission to leave from the gopis and from Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. He bade farewell to all the cowherd men and about to depart mounted his chariot. 65. As Uddhav was about to leave, Nanda and others approached him bearing various items of worship. With tears in their eyes, they addressed him as follows. 66. Nanda and the other cowherds said, May our mental functions always take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. May our words always chant his names, and may our bodies always bow down to him and serve him. Can we read this verse, Prabhu?
Oh, yes, it's a good verse. We can read.
Seems very nice.
Manaso vrittayo nasyo Krishna padambujashraya vacho vinyanam kaya sarpranadishu. Right, so it's quite interesting verse actually. So actually their mental functions and words and everything is already engaged in Krishna's service. But you can see, still they are praying. May our mental functions always take shelter, may our words. So you can see that a devotee is never satisfied by the level of his devotional service. On one hand, the devotee always remains humble, thinking that I am practicing a low level of devotional service, and so his aspiration to increase is unlimited. Otherwise, what is the need for this Nanda and Yashoda to pray like this to Uddhav. Uddhav is praising them that this type of devotional service I have never seen anywhere. And they are praying to him for this. So you can just see. Therefore, this dynamics of prema is not something which sadhakas like us can understand. So, therefore, we said all what we can do is worship and adore the devotional service of these Rajvasis. That's all. Okay, please continue.
67. Wherever we are made to wander about this world by the Supreme Lord's will, in accordance with the reactions of our fruitive work, may our good works and charity always grant us love for Lord Krishna.
Where is the question of wandering and where is the question of karma?
68. Sukadeva Goswami continued, O ruler of men, thus honored by the cowherd men with expressions of devotion for Lord Krishna, Uddhav went back to the city of Mathura, which was under Krishna's protection. Purport? The word Krishna Palitam indicates that even though Uddhav became quite attached to the land of Vrindavan, he returned to Mathura because Shri Krishna was personally displaying his transcendental pastimes there. 69. After falling down to pay his homage, Uddhav described to Lord Krishna the immense devotion of the residents of Vraj. Uddhav also described it to Vasudev and Lord Balaram and King Ugrasen and presented to them the gifts of tribute he had brought with him.
Thus end the purports.
Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the 10th canto, 47th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Song of the Bee.
Okay, we can read this commentary to the 63rd verse.
After glorifying the gopis...
So this is the last verse of Uddhava's song, where he is repeatedly offering respects to the dust from the feet of Vrajastriyana.
After glorifying the gopis, Uddhav offers his respects in this verse. I offer my respects to the foot dust of the cowherd woman of Vraj continuously, not 3 or 5 times, but at every moment. As long as I do not get birth as a blade of grass, which would make it easy to get their foot dust. Their loud songs about the form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna purify the 3 worlds, removing the contamination of ignorance. In relation to this section, Vyasa and other great commentators have concluded as follows. Among all the devotees, those who worship Krishna are the best, since Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. Among those devotees, those who are his intimate assistants in his pastimes are more intimate because of their loyalty in following him. Among these intimate associates, Uddhava is the best. For it is said about Uddhava, among devotees I am Uddhav. Uddhava is not less than myself. Uddhav, however, desired the gopis Mahabhav and had the greatest regard for those gopis. He did not give higher regard to the queens of Krishna. Otherwise, he would have desired to follow their lotus feet. Among the gopis, Shri Radha is the highest. Thus, following her is the highest achievement. This is opinion of Vaishnava Toshini.
Right, so Uddhav is no less. He is as good as Krishna. Uddhav is not less than my son. Okay, read this one, 66, 67.
66, 67. Long living Uddhav, though our son is endowed with the great what is it?
With
Great qualities and beauty, we have been most hard-hearted to him. Even now that is so. We understand now that all the affection and fondling that occurred were insignificant. For in separation from him, we remain alive. There was one father, Dasharath, and when he heard that his son has departed for a far off place, he died. We don't have even a trace of love of our son. For
You
our
see
son.
that.
Therefore, that omniscient son, rejecting us as unqualified parents and being inconceivable as God, took Vasudev and Devaki as his father and mother. In some future birth, let us have such love. In this way, he prays in 2 verses. May our minds take shelter of Krishna's feet. This is a reversal due to great love. Their mind and senses are always submerged in Krishna, but they pray in this way. This indicates the strength of the Sanchari Bhava of Dainya or humility. It is the nature of intense Madhurya, Vatsalya and Sakhya Bhava that when there is a feeling of great lowness springing from the disturbance of separation and a recognition of their indifference to their object of love, their natural bhavas disappear and dasya bhava appears. Oh. An example of Sakhya turning into dasya is as follows. When Balarama, near the end of Brahma Mohan Leela, felt that he had not had enough confidence in Krishna until that day, due to indifference, he developed dasya bhav and said, "This must be Maya of my Lord." An example of dasya bhav in Madhur Ras is as follows. Radha said, "O Master, O Enjoyer, bring this miserable servant to you." And a gopi said, "Does Krishna come back from Gurukula every Gurukula?"
Does Krishna coming back from the Gurukul?
Does Krishna coming back from Gurukul ever speak to us, his servants? Yeah, this we read, I think, yeah. An example of dasya bhava in Vatsalya is the present verse. However, in the state of happiness, they would not give their relationship as in the case of Vasudev and Devaki, who overcome with Aishwarya Jnana. You two children are not our sons.
So Vasudeva and Devaki, when they were overcome with Aishwarya Gyan, they felt that these boys are not our sons. But in the case of Vrindavan, in the case of Vraja Prem, even though sometimes they may be overcome by the Aishwarya Gyan and they may feel that Dasya Bhav, but still they will never give up the relationship. That relationship will continue. Right, so that's what. So again, they feel that, okay, we don't have love, so therefore they have accepted Vasudeva and Devaki. So these are all, as he's explaining, it is simply out of humility. Okay, read the last one.
69. Uddhav described how the inhabitants of Raj had greater devotion than the residents of Mathura. Rajau kasam bhakti udrekam. O Lord Krishna, you are controlled by devotion, you are attained by devotion, you are seen by devotion. This is the meaning of all scriptures. I have seen among the inhabitants of Raj the most intense devotion of all your devotees. This can be understood from the statement, the intensity of separation from you had turned all of the inhabitants of Gokula white. When Narada saw the place, he thought he was in Shvetadip. Your father Nanda Maharaj was so much attracted to you that in confusion he prayed that their minds should concentrate on you. You can understand from this his overwhelming attraction. Your mother Yashoda was so choked up that she could not say anything. So this is all he is telling to Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Okay. Hearing this, Krishna, losing control of his senses and mind, began to cry loudly in the midst of the assembly.
So Uddhav, he has gone back to Mathura and is telling Krishna.
In the evening, in the solitary place, Uddhav revealed to Krishna the huge fire of prema of his beloved gopis. He briefly revealed the Chitra Jalpa and Divyan Mad of Radha, the crown jewel of his dear gopis, understanding that Krishna spent the whole night burning with fever.
जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, संवेद गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. So tomorrow we have one more chapter. It's a short chapter, 36 verses. So we'll try to finish this chapter tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for making this very clear. It was really helpful to hear that whole bhava of Uddhav, and the question that he raised was required. So otherwise we wouldn't have come to know this. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.